Tsar Bomb, also known as RDS-220, was a hydrogen bomb developed by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. It was the most powerful nuclear weapon ever detonated, with an estimated yield of 50 megatons of TNT. Tsar Bomb was detonated on October 30, 1961, over the remote island of Novaya Zemlya in the Arctic Sea. The bomb was carried by a specially modified Soviet Tu-95 bomber and was dropped from an altitude of 10,500 meters. During the leadership of Georgy Malenkov and Nikita Khrushchev, the Soviet Union faced a number of foreign policy and propaganda considerations that made a strong response to the perceived U.S. nuclear blackmail imperative. The Soviet leadership recognized that the United States was using its nuclear weapons to intimidate other countries and maintain its global hegemony. Thus, in order to counter this threat, the Soviet Union embarked on a massive nuclear arms race with the United States. The development of the Tsar Bomb was part of this effort to create a credible deterrent to U.S. nuclear aggression. The bomb was designed to be so powerful that it would be impossible for the United States to ignore or counteract it. While the creation of the Tsar Bomb was certainly a bluff in some sense, it was also a very real expression of the Soviet Union's determination to maintain the concept of nuclear deterrence. The Soviet leadership recognized that the only way to prevent a nuclear war was to ensure that the United States knew that it would face catastrophic retaliation if it ever used its nuclear weapons. The Tsar Bomb was a dramatic demonstration of the Soviet Union's commitment to this goal, and it helped to maintain the uneasy balance of power that characterized the Cold War. United States of America have more nuclear capabilities than USSR. Also, the USSR did not have effective means of delivering warheads to United States, because firstly, the USSR did not possess intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, until the early 1960s. ICBMs are long-range missiles capable of delivering a nuclear warhead over thousands of kilometers, which would allow the USSR to target the United States from Soviet territory. Without ICBMs, the Soviet Union would have had to rely on other, less effective means of delivery, such as bomber aircraft or shorter-range missiles. Secondly, the Soviet Union's nuclear capabilities were still in their early stages of development during the 1950s and early 1960s. While the USSR had successfully detonated its first atomic bomb in 1949, it did not possess a significant number of nuclear warheads until the late 1950s. This meant that even if the USSR had the means to deliver nuclear warheads to the U.S., it would not have been able to inflict significant damage due to the relatively small size of its nuclear arsenal. Overall, while the Soviet Union was actively working to develop its nuclear capabilities during this period, it did not have effective means of delivering nuclear warheads to the U.S. until the early 1960s, when it developed ICBMs.